Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on the Tempest, and we get to hear from Prospero again today in Act 5, Scene 1, which is the last scene of the play. And there's a few things that we need to wrap up, and Prospero himself is feeling very much like wrapping things up at this point. And there are those who think that Shakespeare wrote Prospero like to be himself. So, and this was one of his later plays, so it might be like Shakespeare kind of winding down in all of this stuff, whatever, like having his grandiose moment of saying farewell to the theater and theater life, all that sort of thing. Anyway, you can look into that as much as you want to, or not at all if you don't want to. But yesterday we did have Prospero essentially giving us his retirement speech and thanking all of the sprites and spirits on the island for helping him with his magics. And then they Ariel brought in Alonso, Gonzalo, Antonio, Sebastian, Federico, like that whole crew. And they were standing around Prospero, still frozen, and Prospero decided that he was going to forgive everybody. And he said a couple words to a couple people, but then they start to, like, the charm starts to wear off and they start to become unfrozen. And Prospero realized that nobody would recognize him because he's now wearing like these magical robes and he's been living on this island for the last 12 years. So he has Ariel go get his clothes to make him look like the Duke of Milan so that they will recognize him when they come to, which Ariel does and comes back and helps him change. And then all of the other people start to wake up and they're like, what is going on? Like, where are we? This is some like weird spell that what's like this mist, whatever. And Prospero's like, it's me, Prospero, the Duke of Milan. And they're like, no, like something's playing a trick on us because I don't fully believe this. And even like Gonzalo like touches Prospero and takes his pulse, or is it Alonso? Anyway, somebody like takes his pulse to be like, okay, well, you are actually flesh and blood. Is it possible that this is really you? And Alonso is kind of overwhelmed by the whole thing because he's still thinking that he lost his son. And he's like, he's like, we need to hear the story of more of this. And Prospero's like, hang on a second. Gonzalo, you're awesome. I love you. Thank you. And then Prospero like comes back to continue talking about all of the other stuff that they're chatting about. But Prospero's not quite done like messing with everybody yet. And Alonso alludes to this fantastic loss that he has just suffered in losing his son. And Prospero's like, I have suffered a similar loss when I lost my daughter. And they're like, oh my gosh, like you had a daughter and you lost her? Like when? And Prospero says, in this last tempest. I perceive these lords at this encounter do so much admire that they devour their reason and scarce think their eyes do offices of truth. Their words are natural breath, but howsoever you have been justled from your senses, know for certain that I am Prospero, and that very Duke which was thrust forth of Milan, who most strangely, upon this shore, where you were racked, was landed to be the lord on't. No more yet of this, for 'tis a chronicle of day by day, not a relation for a breakfast, nor befitting this first meeting. Welcome, sir. This cell's my court. Here I have a few attendants and subjects, none abroad. Pray you, look in. My dukedom, since you have given me again, I will requite you with as good a thing, at least bring forth a wonder to content ye as much as my dukedom. So he's trying to play it off like Miranda also died in this tempest where Ferdinand was quote unquote lost. But then he's like, never mind that. Like, I can see that everybody's still amazed. Oh, and also, he has, prior to this little speech in this scene, he sort of threatened Antonio and Sebastian. He was like, I can make him get really mad at you, that kind of thing. And then he really got into Antonio's face and is like, you, who's saying your name makes my mouth disgusting, I forgive you, because you're going to give me my dukedom back. So that's what he's talking about at the very end of this speech. But he's like, let's not talk about things past. I am actually the Duke of Milan, who was very, very wronged, but that's a whole other story. This is where I live now, and these are my sprites and spirits and people, and there's nobody else anywhere else that we need to worry about. But since I have my dukedom back now, I can give you back something that's kind of cool. And then he like waves his hand or draws back a curtain or however you want to stage it, that's fine, to reveal Ferdinand and Miranda playing chess. And they're like involved in a game and they're like, checkmate, that's not a checkmate, kind of a little bit, until Alonso's like, oh my God, is that actually my son? And in one of my favorite little exchanges in the play, Miranda also looks up and she sees all these people and she's like, oh my goodness, look at all these people. Because remember, she hasn't seen this many people in the same place in at least 12 years since she was like 3 years old the last time that happened. So she's not used to seeing this many people. She's like, look at all these people. What a brave new world this is. And Prospero says, well, it's new to you. Which was it's just a fun little dig and shows you what sort of mind Prospero is in. But there's the happy reuniting of Alonso and Ferdinand's like, yeah, this is my wife and I married her without asking your permission because I thought you were dead. And Alonso's like, that's totally cool and I'm so sorry that you were lost and we couldn't get you, and how weird is this that I'm asking my kid for forgiveness and blah 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 and all of this kind of stuff. And so like these lovely sort of reconciliations and stuff coming together. Meanwhile, Prospero had also sent Ariel to get the boatswain and all of the mariners who were asleep on a boat, the boat that survived. They were asleep on the boat through this whole thing, and Prospero has sent Ariel to go wake them up. And roundabout now, Ariel shows up with the boatswain and all of the mariners who are also like, wait, what is all of this that's going on? But we'll get more into their reaction tomorrow, because tomorrow we get to hear from the boatswain. Isn't that exciting? Cool. Anyway, I will see you tomorrow for more. Mwah.